Hey, we are back tonight with a Mediterranean style dish. They say the Mediterranean style food diet is supposed to be really good for you, and we've been slowly trying to get towards that. So tonight we're actually going to make one of those recipes. It's Mediterranean style sauteed shrimp. So we're going to have tonight, obviously, we're going to have shrimp, about a pound of shrimp there. We've got one red onion sliced up thin. We've got some tomatoes that I'll add in that my wife will pick around, but we'll add those in. We've got zucchini and bell pepper that's already been chopped up and sliced up. We've got some fresh basil. Got some spices back here, cumin, coriander, paprika, and oregano. We'll add in some garbanzo beans, also known as chickpeas, some lemon juice, some salt and pepper. Would be wonderful. We've actually had this before. It's really good, so we're making it again. All right, so the first thing is we're going to put the spices together, and we're going to do 1.5 tablespoons of oregano. So there's one, and about a half. We're going to do 1 teaspoon of paprika. Maybe, if it'll come out. Whoa, holy cow. That's why it didn't come out. Okay, 1 teaspoon, not tablespoon, but teaspoon of paprika. We're going to do 1 teaspoon of ground coriander. And 1/2 teaspoon of ground cumin. And if you could smell these right now, it smells Mediterranean. These spices are very Mediterranean in their scent. So I'm going to grab a quick little whisk here, mix these all together. They're all well mixed. And then we're going to get 1.5 teaspoons of this, and we're going to put it on the shrimp. Now, before I start throwing on the shrimp, let me show you. So these have been deveined. These are actually already pre-cooked. The recipe actually calls for uncooked, when you have to devein it and take the tails off and the whole mess. That's more work than I like going through. So I got the pre-cooked shrimp already. They do usually come with their tails on. And all you gotta do is, and you can tell they're cooked because they're pink. The uncooked will look gray. But if you get the pink ones, the package will say cooked and they'll be cooked already. So to take the tail off, you just kind of pinch up right by the end of the tail, and it just slides right off. So like that, put that in. And it just kind of slides off the end like that. So that's how you take the tails off. You can leave actually the tails on, and and when you're eating, you can cut them off. But I like to just go ahead and get them done ahead of time. Also, make sure, like if you see this down here, this is a little bit of the not skin, whatever the shell of it. And you want to make sure when you go through and get these, sometimes when the store does it or when the company does it and makes these things, they don't always get them completely clean. So just make sure, because I found this little bit of shell on one of those. So with that, we're going to take 1.5 teaspoons put a little bit more in there of this mix, and we're going to get the shrimp covered with it as evenly as possible. All right, and then with that, We'll let that sit for a few while we do the rest of our stuff here. So the next thing is in this skillet over here. It calls for a cast iron skillet. I'm just going to use this skillet. It's fine. We're going to put in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then I've already been heating this up over here, so you're probably going to hear these sizzles as soon as I drop them in. We're going to put in our sliced onions. And about half of our garlic. It was about 4 cloves of garlic. I'm going to put in about half of that. For a moment, and then we're going to mix that all around. And we're going to let that kind of saute in the oil here for 3 or 4 minutes, because we're going to let that the onions start to kind of brown up a little bit, and the garlic starts to get just a little bit brown. So we'll be back when we're done doing that. All right, so we are slightly browned on our onion. Don't want to let the garlic burn. Garlic will get kind of a bitter taste if you burn it, so don't want to do that. So we're all set with this. Now we're going to add in our veggies. So I have one zucchini. It called for 2, but our zucchinis are the size of footballs from our garden. My beautiful wife grows these. They're like this big around. Well, they're not quite that big, but they're like this. So I just used 1 zucchini. Recipe calls for 2, so depending on the size, you might want to get 2. And 1 bell pepper. So we're gonna throw those in. Turn up the heat just a little bit. I'm going to throw in our can of garbanzo beans, also known as chickpeas. Mix those around a little bit. And then I'm going to put in the rest of the spices that we mixed up earlier. A little bit of kosher salt. I always kind of pour the salt out in my hand just because that way I can kind of make sure I know how much is going in. A little bit of pepper. Whoa, that came out faster than I hoped. So that's penalty the pepper. And we're going to mix this all together once again. And make sure all the veggies are getting coated. We're going to do this now. We're going to cook these for 5 or 6 minutes like this. Let them get a little bit tender. So we'll be back when we've gotten that done. All right, our veggies are getting tender. Now, here's a little change in the recipe that I'm looking at, and the recipe I'm giving you, just to make this a little simpler. So I told you I used the pre-cooked shrimp. In the recipe that I was looking at, that I've come from, we're using uncooked shrimp. So what they tell you to do is to pull veggies out, throw the shrimp in with some oil and some garlic, and cook it all up, and then add the veggies back in. Well, we don't need to do that because it's already cooked. So doing this, all we got to really do is put the shrimp back in, or not back in, put the shrimp in, and really just long enough to get it heated through versus the 4 or 5 minutes that it would take to actually cook it. We're only going to need a couple of minutes to kind of heat this through. These were frozen shrimp. I had them thawed ahead of time, patted them dry, made sure the tails were pulled off. And because it said cook the vegetables 5 to 7 minutes, I went on the lower end because I'm not taking the vegetables out while I'm making the shrimp warmed up. I'm keeping the vegetables in there, so they'll be cooking that extra couple of minutes as well. Mix it all together. Let that heat for just a minute. And then the last thing we're going to put in, last things I guess, we've got our juice of 1 lemon. So put that in. We've got the much beloved or much hated, depending on who you are, tomatoes. We're going to throw in just a little bit of basil leaves when we get this all in there. All right, while I'm letting this heat for a minute here, I'll tell you, my beautiful videographer slash wife has got this gorgeous garden. I don't know if you can see it out there or not, but it's the size of a Volkswagen Beetle for this stuff. So a lot of this is coming from our own garden, or next time we cook it, it sure will be. The zucchini is from our garden. Told you, like this. The basil is from our garden. About the only thing that we're not gonna, well, we won't have the chickpeas or the lemons. Well, about half of it will come from our garden by the time we get done. Bell peppers we'll have in there. We may have some onion out there. Not sure if that's gonna do too well this year or not, but it's great being able to use fresh stuff. So we've got fresh basil from our garden that I've chopped up. Got the leaves off, washed them off, patted them dry. Throw the basil in. That's the last little bit here. And with that, I'm going to turn the heat down. Just turn the heat all the way off. And we now have Mediterranean style sauteed shrimp, which, like I said, it was really good last time. I'm presuming it's going to be good this time because pretty much follow the same recipe. All right, we'll scoop a little bit onto a plate here. And I will take a couple of extra tomatoes so that I don't have to give my wife any. Although if I did, she'd just throw them at me anyway, so that's okay. Try to be tomato free on this one. Oh, almost got a tomato in there. Holy cow. Would have had a tomato thrown at me if I wasn't careful. Okay. That is our Mediterranean style sauteed shrimp. As per usual, I'm going to give it a taste over here and make sure it's worthy of our dinner. I will even grab one of those beautiful little tomatoes. Yep, okay. That works. Okay, pretty simple recipe. I mean, took us 20 minutes, half an hour total, plus prep time, but it's good for you. And that's it. We'll see you next time.